got a little message this morning for the lawyers for Deutsche Bank and the J.P. Morgan Chase, Danske, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, WAMU, Countrywide, Superior Bank, Taylor, Bean and Whitaker, and a couple little pals. The infamous Trey Gowdy, who now has gone to work for Deutsche Bank's lawyers. Trey Gowdy works for Deutsche Bank's lawyers at Nelson and Mullins with this fella James A. Haltram, big fancy pants, American Bar Association bar members. They're like a coven of witches. They've got the idea that the bar is some kind of a holy order of members of the old well at the university there in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the Old Well Society. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make something perfectly clear. Deutsche Bank and J.P. Morgan Chase have been the heart of organized crime, Mr. Trey Gowdy, for quite a long time. You know, some of those very interesting construction interests in New Jersey that are such great big huge pals with Donald Trump, of the Bin Laden, Khashoggi, Ghazanfar triad mafia. And there's people in this country cannot like me at all. Makes no difference. I don't really care. The massive looting of the American financial system, the unbelievable flood of dirty money that's been used to buy the officials and the agents of the United States government and large numbers of state government judges, sheriffs, and county prosecutors and district attorneys, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Christopher Wray over at FBI and Mr. Barr, William Barr, the Attorney General of the United States. Don't you find it just a little bit odd that Trey Gowdy is now a white-collar criminal defense attorney for Nelson and Mullins, who are the attorneys for one of the dirtiest banks in the world? That's a fascinating fact, Mr. Gowdy, and I guess the reason I'm making this video this morning boils down to a little case that we've been researching on all over the United States since the earliest part of the 1980s. Write this down, Mr. Trey Gowdy and James Haltram. Since the earliest part of the 1980s, this kid right here of Clan Witham, you write that one down, Trey Gowdy, Clan Witham. Witham River, Essex, England, that Witham clan, that Witham tribe. These people have raped the planet for so much wealth it staggers the mind. And well, they've hurt the wrong people, and they've destroyed the lives of far too many. So to the officers and the executives of Deutsche Bank and J.P. Morgan Chase, and that little fellow Jerry Cugno from Paramount, Pioneer and Premier Mortgage Brokering, and Wells Fargo, and let's see, WAMU, and all the other little hooligans that have used the American financial system and the mortgage system in America. Y'all put on your seat belts, because I'm going to give you a little introduction to someone that's a bloodline descendant of the Teutonic Knights that built the Temple Church of London. You writing this down, Mr. Haltram? I don't care about your Old Wells Society membership, and I could give a rat's you know what about your bar card, because I don't belong to that mafia, Mr. Holcomb. And as far as you bar card carrying attorneys are concerned at Nelson and Mullins, how many of the massive financial scandals in America did Nelson and Mullins or Baker and Donaldson expose? Apparently you people haven't lifted a finger to address the massive looting of the United States and the world's financial systems. Instead, you work for the criminals that have perpetrated the crimes. Trey Gowdy. So to William Barr and to Christopher Wray and to President Donald Trump and Vice President Pence, this fellow right here, I got a track record, okay? You betcha I got a rap sheet. I'm the guy that has handed thousands of bankster gangsters their asses. I'm the guy that, well, we shut down the Western banks in Houston. You know, Mr. McCone of the CIA, you know, McCone, the CIA director's Western banks, and that little gang of slobs, those filthy pigs that run weapons all over the world for like the Triad Mafia, you know, Ghazanfar, Khashoggi, Bin Laden, that Triad development cabal, Mr. Donald Trump. You know who the Triad is, Mr. Trump. You were running around with the Sultan of Brunei, correct? So to Nelson and Mullins in Tennessee and in South Carolina and Georgia and wherever else they practice, why is it that Nelson and Mullins and Baker and Donaldson have so many members, former members of the Congress and the Senate of the United States, and pals from the Oval Office that are friends with the biggest crooks on the planet? J.P. Morgan Chase, Charter, remember the old Charter Bank gang there, and U.S. Banks, and that Western Banks bunch of Mr. John C. McCone, director of the CIA, Mr. Trey Gowdy. Why is it that you people are in bed with the biggest criminals in the world that just by chance happen to run all the weapons and walk the gun walking weapons and the Hillary Clinton weapons swapping and trading all over the planet? Why is it, Mr. Gowdy, that you just can't seem to get to the bottom of these crimes? And all you've done as a member of the Congress of the United States is sit up there and play smoke and mirrors distraction. Smoke and mirrors distraction, Mr. Gowdy. You people are going to learn something by the time you're done messing with the son of the swamp fox. Is that my family been on this part of the world since 1601. That's 8 generations of native-born American here on Turtle Island. And I've got an absolute message for every victim of this mortgage, swindling, predatory, subprime money laundering racket. Because that's what it is, folks. It's a great, big, huge money laundering, offshoring, and swindling of untold millions of people. They got sucked into and baited to their high interest rate, stated income, 125% financing crime spree. Because that's exactly what it is. It's a crime spree. With their 15 cent printed right up out of the thin air, Trey Gowdy, You want to discuss this one, Mr. Gowdy? How about you, Mr. James Haltram, and you, Tom Daschle over there at Baker and Donaldson? The Daschle Group. Isn't that cute, Donald Trump? How the big, heavyweight, fancy pants American Bar Association law firms are running cover for the biggest criminals on planet Earth, like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton would do with Barack Obama and Michelle. Aren't they lawyers too? Aren't those bar card carrying slobs? Aren't they criminals as well, Mr. Gowdy? Folks, got a network of people all over the world, actually. The research team, Mr. Haltram, the research team. And, well, most of us, we don't give a damn about bar cards. Reason being, Mr. Haltram, is my ancestors built the London Temple Church of the Four Inns of Court. So you put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Member of the Old Well Society. I come from an old society too, Mr. Haltram. They're known as Teutonic Knights, and the Poor Fellow's Army of God of King Solomon. Note the beard and the hair of a warrior, Mr. Gowdy. You people are sick, twisted little sick con artists. And we're going to get to the bottom of all these subpoenas and demands for records from Deutsche Bank, Dansk, and the Russian money flows and ebbs and tides of Mexican money and Filipino money and Panamanian money, and this giant cancer that's been running the world for far too long. And that's a pack of the coven of witches and warlocks with their bar cards. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'll leave it right there, and to my network, my research team all over the world, batten down the hatches, fasten your seat belts, and tighten them up nice and snug, because it's game time. It's game time, Mr. Gowdy, and you can run, but you can't hide. Donald Trump, swamp draining time, sir. We're going to drain this old swamp, Mr. Donald Trump. Y'all have a nice day, and as always, hasta la vista. God bless, and you betcha, we'll definitely, positively, certainty, be back.